Okay, I want you to do something for me just for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Close your eyes and picture the most stereotypical, high-gloss Hollywood success scene you could possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a massive ballroom in L.A. It smells like, expensive steak, heavy perfume, and that kind of crisp scent of air conditioning working overtime.
The sound is key, too. The clinking glasses, the hum of networking.
Right. And then the applause. That rhythmic, almost self-congratulatory noise that just says, "We made it." You can hear it. Right.
Yeah. It's the soundtrack of the winner's circle, the sound of validation.
Exactly. It's loud. It fills every single gap. But today, for this deep dive, we're looking at a moment where that soundtrack just stopped. Total
It's
drop.
a very specific moment.
We're going back to December 20th to an event in L.A. honoring Denzel Washington. And the most important thing that happened that night wasn't a speech or a montage of his greatest hits or even a standing ovation. It was silence.
And we are not talking about, an awkward pause because the teleprompter broke. Not at all. We're analyzing what our source material calls the silence of responsibility.
So we've got this really fascinating document here on the desk. It's titled The Ethics of Silence. And I have to admit, when I first saw that title, I thought, okay, we're pivoting to mindfulness, maybe a meditation guide
Or a legal breakdown of NDAs or something.
Exactly. But no, this thing takes a hard, completely unexpected left turn into architecture and design.
It really does. It somehow draws a straight line from a celebrity awards dinner all the way to a technical, evidence-based framework called harm reduction interior design, HRED.
So it's basically an argument that the physical spaces we build and the silence we allow inside them, they're actually ethical declarations.
That's the core of it. So the roadmap for today is we're going from Denzel Washington to drywall, from red carpet to the blueprints of public housing.
In a manner of speaking, yeah.
But the mission is a little bigger. We want to explore how silence can act as a diagnostic tool, how it tells you when a system is failing. And ultimately, we're going to show, using this source, that designing buildings for vulnerable people, shelters, clinics, you name it, it isn't just a budget issue, it's a matter of biology.
Okay, biology, blueprints, and Hollywood. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's start with that inciting incident. Take us back into that ballroom.
Right. Context is everything. The document describes the room as a space insulated from economic instability. So this is the top 1% of the 1%.
The air is different in there.
It is. And the whole point of the night is recognition. You go there to be told you're great. It's a victory lap. The expectation is just celebration, noise, affirmation.
And Denzel is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. So you expect the clips, right? Training Day, Malcolm X, glory.
You expect him to get up, thank his agent, crack a joke about getting old.
Wave to the crowd, sit down. Standard procedure.
Precisely. That's the script. But the source notes that Washington, he just didn't play the game. He didn't center his own filmography. He used the platform to address the moral contrast in the room itself.
And this is where it gets so interesting because he didn't yell, right? He wasn't accusatory.
No, and that's crucial to the whole silence part of this. The text says his tone was calm. He did not accuse, he reframed. He just pointed out the massive gap between the wealth inside that room, the accumulated comfort, and the reality just outside the doors.
And then he made the pivot. He announced that future residuals and a huge portion of his investments would be redirected.
And he was so specific. This wasn't a vague, I'm donating to charity kind of thing.
No, he listed it all out. Education access, violence prevention, global health, arts training. He basically put his entire legacy's financial weight right there on the table.
And this brings us to the quote from the source that, it really frames this entire discussion. It's a heavy one. When individuals or institutions possess more than they require, surplus becomes obligation.
Wow. Surplus becomes obligation. I just want to pause on that. Not generosity, not giving back, obligation. I mean, that changes the physics of the room.
Completely. You're telling a room full of people in five-figure outfits that their bank accounts are actually a debt they owe to society.
So,
yeah.
What happened? What was the reaction when he dropped that on them?
Their room went quiet, but the source makes this beautiful, nuanced distinction. It says, the silence was not empty, it was active.
Active silence. I love that. It wasn't boredom. It wasn't people checking their phones.
No, it was a recalibration. The source calls this silence an ethical barometer. It exposed the tension between that accumulated comfort and this new idea of redirected accountability.
Yeah.
When reality crashes into the party like that, the applause just, it dies.
You have to sit with it.
You have to sit with the discomfort. It's a mirror.
Okay, but that's a Hollywood moment.
Yeah.
It's dramatic, it's powerful, but it's still Hollywood. So how do we get from there to, say, an architecture firm?
Yeah.
How does this apply to someone looking at blueprints for a community center?
Because that exact same silence happens in professional settings. The source identifies it specifically in design studios and municipal planning meetings. They call it the professional pause.
Okay, walk me through that. I'm picturing a conference room.
So imagine a meeting. You've got architects, city planners, stakeholders, all discussing a new facility for a vulnerable population. Maybe it's transitional housing, a recovery clinic, something like that.
Coffee's out, spreadsheets are on the screen.
Exactly. And they're talking about harm reduction principles,
Yeah.
design choices that actually, help people heal, better lighting, soundproofing, things that treat people like humans.
Sure, makes sense.
But then those principles run headfirst into the budget metrics. Someone, usually the person holding the purse strings, says, we can't afford acoustic panels. Or, let's cut the natural light to save on glazing.
Yeah.
And then the room gets quiet.
That's it. That's the diagnostic silence again.
Yes. It is the precise moment where information transforms into obligation. The people in that room, they know the right thing to do. They've seen the data. They know the cheaper option is worse for people. And the silence is them processing the fact that they're about to choose the spreadsheet over the human.
That is heavy. It's not just an awkward moment. It's the sound of a moral choice being made. And usually we just break that silence by saying, well, the budget is the budget, and we move on.
We rationalize it. But the source argues we have to stop. It brings in that legendary quote from Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better.
Which brings us to the knowing better part. I think a lot of people see interior design as just aesthetics. It's throw pillows and paint colors. It's all vibes.
It's HGTV.
Right. But this document claims it's biological, that it literally impacts our nervous system. Is that real science, or is that just marketing fluff?
Oh, it is absolutely real science. We're talking neurobiology. The source lists 4 specific areas where our environment physically impacts the body, and I think we should break these down because they are the key takeaways.
Let's do it. The biology of design. First on the list is circadian regulation.
Right, so this isn't about mood lighting. Your body has an internal clock, and it's regulated by light intensity and color temperature. If you're in a facility, say a shelter, with those harsh, buzzing fluorescent overheads that never change, your body literally doesn't know when to release melatonin for sleep or cortisol to wake up.
So your hormones are just all over the place. You're awake when you should be sleeping, tired when you should be alert.
Exactly. You end up in this state of chronic fatigue and hormonal imbalance. And if you're already trying to recover from trauma or addiction, that biological chaos makes it almost impossible. You're fighting your own body.
Okay, second point, stress and agitation. This one seems obvious. Noise is annoying.
But it's so much more than annoying. It's about the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. The source calls it acoustical stress.
Yeah.
Think about a building with all hard surfaces, concrete, glass, linoleum floors. Sound just bounces everywhere.
An echo chamber.
It creates a cacophony, and that constant background noise keeps your nervous system in a state of high alert. You can't lower your guard because your brain is just constantly processing potential threats and all that noise.
So you're basically in fight or flight just because of the flooring material.
Yeah.
That is wild to think about. You're sitting still, but your body thinks it's running from a tiger.
Precisely. Next is anxiety responses, triggered by what the source calls spatial compression.
Low ceilings, narrow hallways. That bunker feeling.
It triggers a primal response. If you feel trapped, anxiety spikes. And for people with a history of confinement like formerly incarcerated people, those narrow, dark corridors can be actively re-traumatizing. It feels like punishment.
And the last one, which I find so poetic but also heartbreaking, perceived dignity, which is about material tactility.
It's about touch. It's about what your skin feels. Think about the difference between sitting on a cold, hard plastic chair that's bolted to the floor versus a wooden chair or something with soft fabric.
One feels institutional like a bus station. The other feels human, like a home.
One tells you, you are a problem to be managed. The other says, you are a person worthy of comfort. The source argues these materials speak directly to our sense of self-worth.
And the critical point here is that these aren't just feelings. These things lead to concrete, measurable outcomes.
Huge outcomes. We're talking sleep patterns, emotional regulation, conflict escalation. If you design a building that makes people agitated, sleepless, and anxious, you are actively working against your own program. You're spending millions on services, but the building itself is causing stress.
It's the definition of inefficiency. You're fighting yourself. So if the science is this settled, why aren't we doing this everywhere? Why are we still building these concrete boxes?
Because of how we view the people we're building them for. The source has this devastating visual contrast to illustrate what it calls unevenly distributed expertise. It shows two images side by side.
I'm looking at them now. Image A is the privileged. Describe what we're seeing here.
It looks like a high-end wellness spa. You see wood slats on the walls, warm lighting hidden in coves, no glare, soft furniture. It just looks quiet, restorative.
It looks expensive, like a place you pay a lot of money to go to feel better.
And the caption notes it is buffered by security. This is designed for people who can afford peace.
And then there's image B, the vulnerable.
And this is a hallway in a justice-impacted facility. It's just stark. Cinder block walls painted that depressing institutional green, harsh fluorescent tubes reflecting off a shiny linoleum floor. You can hear the echo just from the photo.
The caption calls this compliance-based frameworks. Basically, does it meet the minimum legal code? Yes. Is it humane? No.
And that's the ethical failure. The people in the spa are there to decompress from a stressful job. The people in the facility are there to rebuild their entire lives after trauma, and we give them the environment that causes more stress. We give the architectural medicine to the healthy and the poison to the sick.
That puts it into perspective I hadn't really considered. It's a double standard of design. So how do we fix it? The source proposes this methodology, HRID, harm reduction interior design. Is this just about making things look pretty?
No, and the source is very firm on this. It says these are not aesthetic embellishments. They are preventative mechanisms embedded in form. HRID is about treating the building like a medical device. It's not decoration, it's regulation.
Okay, let's get practical. What's in the toolkit? What do I actually change?
There are 5 key interventions listed. First, layered lighting. So stop using the single blasting overhead light. Use sconces, dimmers, natural light. Give people control.
Second is acoustical treatments.
Right. Sound damping panels, softer flooring, acoustic ceiling tiles. You have to lower the noise so people can talk without shouting. The moment you have to shout to be heard, aggression levels automatically go up.
Third, intuitive wayfinding.
This one is huge. Have you ever been in a hospital or government building and you feel that panic rising because you just can't find where you're going?
All the time. You feel small and frustrated.
That's cognitive fatigue. HRID demands that spaces be logical so you don't have to fight the building just to get to your appointment. For someone with PTSD, getting lost can be a major trigger.
Okay, fourth is decompression zones.
Spaces for voluntary withdrawal. Is there a safe corner, a nook, a small room where you can go to collect yourself? Or are you forced to be on and visible all the time?
That's a game changer. And finally, material selection.
Choosing things that communicate permanence, not disposability. Using wood, stone, high-quality textiles instead of cheap veneers that peel off in a month.
Permanence rather than disposability. That line just sticks with me. If everything around you is cheap plastic meant to be thrown away, eventually you feel like you're meant to be thrown away.
That is the core message. The environment mirrors your worth back to you.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I can hear the silence in that boardroom. The person with the spreadsheet is saying, "This sounds beautiful, but we're spending public funds. We can't afford a spa for a shelter."
The source sees that coming. It tackles the elephant in the room head on. This is where the argument shifts from biology to economics. It addresses what it calls the feasibility myth.
Go on. Convince the spreadsheet guy.
The source shows a Venn diagram. It's called the allocation argument. One circle is luxury interventions, the stuff in a high-end hotel. The other is supportive housing needs. And the part where they overlap is labeled technically identical.
Technically identical.
Think about it. What makes a luxury space luxury? It's quiet, it has circadian lighting, it feels solid. The actual technology, the insulation, the dimmers, the materials, is the exact same stuff a trauma survivor needs to regulate their nervous system.
So the barrier isn't that we don't know how to do it?
No. The source is blunt. The barrier is not technical feasibility, it is allocation. We can build it, we just choose to put those features in penthouses and not in shelters.
But it still costs more, doesn't it?
Upfront? Marginally, maybe. But the source says we need to change our KPI, our key performance indicator. Right now, the metric is cost per square foot. The new metric has to be nervous system regulation and behavioral health outcomes.
Because if you build a cheap, stressful building, you just pay for it later.
You pay for it in violence, in recidivism, in staff turnover because the workers are stressed out, and medication costs. The cheap building is actually incredibly expensive to operate because it breaks the people inside.
Penny wise, pound foolish on a massive scale. And there's a line here that just sums it all up. Dignity does not fluctuate based on circumstance.
That's the ethical foundation. Safety and nervous system regulation should not be premium upgrades. They should be the baseline conditions wherever vulnerability is present.
It challenges that whole idea that a bare bones facility is good enough for people in need,
Yeah.
because bare bones biologically hurts them.
It argues, pretty effectively, that designing a stressful building for vulnerable people is a form of negligence. If you know that harsh light causes aggression and you install it anyway to save $5, you are complicit in the bad outcomes.
Wow. Complicit. And that brings us right back to the silence, doesn't it?
It does. The source circles right back to that ballroom with Denzel, and it asks, is the silence atmospheric or is it transformative?
Denzel's silence was transformative. It led to action. He redirected his wealth. He put skin in the game.
And the source challenges the design industry, and really all of us, to do the same. It says, the question is not whether design influences human outcomes. Evidence confirms it does. The question is whether we will respond to that knowledge with structural integration.
It's the know better, do better idea again. You can't unknow this stuff. Once you realize that a fluorescent light is a biological stressor, you have to make a choice.
And silence is that threshold, is that split second in the meeting, where you decide whether to speak up for the human need or just sign off on the budget cut.
It's actually really empowering. It means every design choice, every renovation, every building plan is an opportunity. It's not just about bricks and mortar. It's about respect.
It reframes the built environment as a delivery system for dignity. And that is a powerful way to look at the world around you.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I mean, maybe you aren't an architect. You probably aren't Denzel Washington with millions in residuals.
But you inhabit spaces.
Yeah.
And you have influence over some of them. Your office, your home, maybe a school board you sit on.
When you walk into a room, just listen to the silence for a second. Look at the lights. Ask yourself, what is this room telling people about your worth? And if you are in a position to build or design for others, remember that active silence.
Don't let the budget conversation drown out the human one. That silence is your chance to pivot.
I want to leave you with a final provocative thought from this deep dive that really stuck with me. If we accept the science that our surroundings physically regulate our nervous systems, at what point does designing a stressful building for vulnerable people stop being fiscally responsible and start being an act of negligence?
That's the question we all need to sit with.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Take care.